Hello and welcome to Sunday League X Round 6 here in Copenhagen, our street circuit round. This time, we've had 14 days since the last bit of Sunday League action in Spa-Francorchamps ended in controversial circumstances after a fantastic fight for the lead of the race, for the win in the end, which went to Truly, who hasn't won a race for many a season. I'm joined as usual by Levy. Levy, say hi.
Guten Tag.
Oh my gosh, of course. And yeah, this should be an exciting qualifying session. Copenhagen is an interesting track to do by yourself, particularly this chicane section. You can see Kubo, I think, just cutting a little bit of gravel going through there. Got the Danish flag runoffs at turn 1 to turn 2, and then obviously turn 3, 4 and 5, that section down to the sharp left-hander, the swoop around the roundabout, which isn't really much of a roundabout, and then you go passing down through the sling, the blind left-hander, which many drivers find difficult, and Kubo's just ruined his lap on that, so not good for him at all. Round the more realistic roundabout, and you go through the chicanes once more, end off the lap in that final corner for what will be about 35-36 seconds for most drivers. High skill level here in the league, of course. Of course, we have the driver standings before this race. Danimator leads us on 106 points, 101 for Rito and Gamer. Of course, Danimator would have been on 104, Gamer on 103, had things ended with them third and second in Belgium, but alas, it was switched around at the very last corner. Truly a little bit behind them, Nomskar and Hernandi, with Nuno following behind. We're right at the end of the qualifying session here. Let's see who's got pole position for the Danish Grand Prix. Danimator takes pole position for the first time in a while. We've got Hernandi just 100th of a second back. Grandy in the green Nordic Thunder takes his best career start of third place. Gamer will start alongside him on the second row. Nuno in 5th place down there for qualifying. Antti starts 6th. That's a familiar position for him. Jaruni up in 7th place. A strong lap from him. Truly in 8th for LSA. Pamushas takes 9th for FGR, and Kubo qualifies in the top 10 for, I believe, the first time in his career. But if not, that is a very high qualifying position for him still. Razim in 11th place, and Eurus in 12th, and Suicide promoted to full-time driver for the rest of the season for Scuderia Paracaro. 13th place for him, 14th for Caddo, 15th for Kraft, 16th for Andrews, right behind him. Guetzlin in 17th, and Game Mongoose, a second and a half off the pole time, will take 18th spot. Levy, your thoughts on that quali session?
Hernandi did impress me. He did. After previous race, he improved by a lot, starting from the front row, only 100th second behind Danimator, and congratulations to Danimator for qualifying on pole position, and also congratulations to Grant and Jaruni for their good lap times there.
Yeah, absolutely right. In terms of pole position so far this season, this is Danimator's first of Sunday League X. We've had 5 different drivers, now make that 6 different drivers take pole in the 6 races so far. So in race 1 it was Rito. Wait, no, I'm absolutely waffling here, sorry. We've had Rito dominating qualifying so far this season, but I got that confused with the race win record, my apologies. Rito being fantastic qualifying so far, he's not here today. We will have the FGR car filled in by Guetzli today, with team owner Goose starting alongside him on the back row of the grid. Looks like we're nearly ready to go here. I'll just pop up the Constructors' Championship for you to have a gander at. LSA starting out in first place. Yeah, we're ready to go. Mayhem not far behind them. FGR 10 points off, and RMC there, NTH, then FLF. Really good spread, actually. Not a lot of teams separated by 20 points from the teams around them. I think every single team within a race win of the next, and that's really healthy for the competition in general. Time to start the Danish Grand Prix here in Sunday League X. It's a wet start. This is not what the higher-ups would have wanted. It can be quite chaotic to begin with. Have all the drivers spotted the wet conditions? Yes, they have. All 18 on wets. We're underway here in Copenhagen. Hernandi immediately folds in. It's not enough. Davidov Levy has been disconnected. Unfortunately, Danimator still out in pole. Gamer and Grandy still fighting in the background. Some carnage there in the back. It looks like Urist was forced off the track there. They file through. Anti side by side with Pamushas truly into the wall. Kubo right behind him as well. We'll get a wider view just for the start so you can see more of the action. Grandy dives into the lead of the race. Fantastic for him. Nuno following this train in the background. Hernandi up into second. Little bit of lag there. Not quite sure what happened. A big squeeze at the final corner. Gamer's dropped back. He's side by side with Nuno now as they head into turns 1 and 2. Nuno with the inside line. Gamer not left a lot of space on the exit there. Grandy leads his first laps in Sunday League, and the rain will lessen in intensity, but still a lot of standing water on the track. Levy, are you all good? Do we have the technical difficulties solved for the time being?
Yeah, I had connection failed 3. Now I'm back, and everything seems all right. So
Grandy's got a second and a half out in front, it looks like already. Go on, Levy. Sorry.
I don't see the tires right yet, but I have heard that everyone is on the wets, so that will be interesting.
Yeah, that's a good thing, I suppose, when everyone's starting on the exact same tyre, that as soon as you get the bug will fix itself up after the pit stops come, so that's pretty nice for all. Grandy leads the way in the green NTH. They've rebranded for this race, apparently as part of Veterans Day, honouring those who lost their lives, fought in the World Wars. Realistically, we just know that Anti quite wants a green car. But Nuno in second place and Hernandi in third. Gamer, then Danimator, Pamushas right ahead of Anti, the old Viking sandwich that Kubo wants to squeeze himself into the middle of, and he's wisely backed out of that as Anti was looking a little spicy just on the exit of the racetrack. Hernandi, Gamer and Nuno all fighting it out here. Hernandi hasn't been on the podium since he won in Hungary. He had 2 top 10 finishes in the last 2 races. That last one in Belgium, though, taken away with a post-race 1 position penalty after a deliberate act of aggression at the final corner. But he did win the Hungarian Grand Prix. Hasn't stood on the podium in any other race since, so you can see where his efforts have gone into, but he'd love to get back on it today. Gamer and Nuno, though, very, very strong drivers, and Hernandi's just fallen back. Looks like he had a mistake out of the final section of the chicanes. Kubo goes wide, and it looks like we had a lot of slowing down. Truly has dropped down into 10th position now. Rozim right behind him, perhaps shaping up for a move. Danimator, Hernandi, Gamer, Nuno and Grandy is your front 5 still. Any battling going on down here. Anti versus Kubo and Pamushas. Kubo up in a really high position. He's slowly but steadily developed himself in Sunday League, and now he is fighting up with the big dogs as they go across through the bridge roundabout, the very adventurous piece of architecture out across the sea, separating Denmark from Sweden. The Swedish driver right on the tail of the pole here. They all pile into the pit lane. I don't think anyone will stay out for a bit of a glory run. Every single driver seems to be in. They're all exiting through here, and not a lot of room on that pit exit. The track is about to be dry, but they get a slide going on through there. I think that's fair enough. Hernandi just forced off into that runoff section. Nuno gets a penalty, but is immediately able to come back at Gamer, who's on the hards, and go through. They pass by the glitching cone. Nuno made a mistake there. It's now a 4-car train here for second place. Grandy still comfortably out in the lead. Danny looking to get a great run on both of them. Can he get through on Nuno? The rain's coming back, and Kraft and Suicide, who gambled staying out on the wets, have perfected it here. They've got a lot of chaos going through that middle sector as well, but every single driver is back into the lane just 1 lap later. This is a bizarre start to the Grand Prix, but Suicide is up into second position on the track. Grandy and Sue 1 and 2 as he fights with the likes of Nuno and Gamer, and Kraft has gotten himself up. Not quite as much success on his part, but he's in 13th place. Suicide in the SCP, running in second place at the moment. This is fantastic for him. Remember, his tyre is a lot older, so what he's hoping for potentially is just an immediate drying period, because otherwise he's going to struggle with an older wet compound compared to these front runners on their new wets. He gets passed by Gamer and Nuno, but will come across the line in a very respectable 4th position. Danimator sweeps into one side, and Hernandi will go down the inside, but this has still been a strategic blinder for Suicide. Fantastic move in his first race as a full-time driver since Abu Dhabi in Season 7. Levy.
That is bizarre, and Grant is still leading, I might say. And that is truly good for him. If Nuno, Gamer, Danny, Hernandi won't stop battling, then he has very high chances to win the race.
Looks like most of the grid was actually in an SCP sandwich there, with Suicide up in 2nd place. Game on Goose down in last at the moment, so a lot of drivers right in between that. 15 of them. The clouds are coming back, and that's going to be pretty well timed for Suicide, who is now ahead of Kubo. They've battled in Challenger League, in Journeyman League in the past, and they go side by side through the chicanes at Copenhagen, through the sling I should say. Kubo with a terrible exit there, he just wall rides through the corner, and that's not served him well at all. The clouds are coming back, the track will be drying up soon, just a few laps to go until we get our first proper dry running of the race, but Suicide's wets are properly out of action now. He's just dropping down like a sinking stone. You'd put a part of it down to the pace. Oh, as we get a big battle here, I'll cut myself off. Hernandi to the inside of Gamer. Nuno just there as well. He's at the head of them as well. But 4 cars battling here. Grandi is 5 seconds up the road from all of them fighting. He has had the ideal first quarter, or it's about to be the first quarter of the race, just as he finishes off here. And the elite drivers who have so many wins combined throughout them head through the chicane section now. Hernandi to the inside of Gamer. Gamer squished into the barrier there on the corner, and they've both dropped back from Danimator and Nuno. That's pretty crucial. Once the dry running comes, we'll start to see a little bit of the strategy choices. The gap from Grandi to those behind has just dropped a little bit, 3.4 as I see it now on the HUD. Hernandi makes a mistake. He wanted to type S to just maybe, I think, get Gamer to slipstream him. It looks like that's not worked. And he wants, because he just made a big mistake in trying to type that. He's now behind Gamer, so I think everyone should be coming in this lap. No, Danny stays out. Okay, will anyone go in? Yes, Gamer and Hernandi do go in. Let's see how the gamble pays off, because Nuno and Danny will be fine as long as the track is still wet. Grandi, I think, a bit more of a no-brainer for him to stay out with that. More of a cushion that he's built up, but they're side by side on the pit exit. Medium tire versus hard, and the rain is very, very nearly gone. They might struggle a bit through this final sector just as they come up to the chicanes. Now the track is very nearly dry as they head into the slings. Bone dry. Now Danny and Nuno practicing their drifting skills through the chicanes. Nuno just has to back off as Danny makes an error there. How will the undercut have worked for the likes of Hernandi and Game? It will be really interesting to see. Rozim also didn't pit, and neither did Kraft, who's still on 1 stop, while most others are on 3. Gamer and Hernandi through the final 2 corners. Danny and Nuno out through the pit exit, and it looks like pretty even Stevens on the strategy there. But I think it's just the very tight and twisty first sector that meant those coming out on the slicks while it was drying up really suffered. Levy, any thoughts at the moment?
I think nothing so far. Everything seems chilly. And gotta say that now we have probably each team having a Class A driver and Class B, which was some daydream, and now it's a reality.
Yeah. Suicide the clear Class A for SCP coming in for them now. We do have a lot of reserves in this race, which is interesting. So obviously the front pack, all full-time drivers, down to Eurus going wide there. Suicide now also a full-time driver, but Andries in 15th place, as well as Guetzley in 16th. It's the bottom 4. Kraft in 17th, who's still looking very competitive. He scored his first point in Efragina, and unfortunately the RMC team has not had too much luck recently, with Kraft not scoring in the race before that. Wait, no, hang on. No, sorry. He did score in Efragina, and the Julo DNF'd in the race following in Spa-Francorchamps. So they've mainly relied on Gamer for points in this season, largely, especially with Julo out in the first couple rounds, just with connection-related issues. No massively close battles. Danny just slipstreaming Nuno for the time being, which is a pretty reasonable thing to do. considering Nuno's on the mediums. Grandi, apart from Caddo, is the only driver out on the softs at the moment. He wants to extend that lead. He's obviously got clean air. He's got 0 cars on the track out ahead of him. And it's just going to be interesting. I think he's basically led this from lap 1. So it should be fascinating to see how that's going to go down. I do hope Ghosted Blues are on. Otherwise that will be slightly problematic. But it should all be fine. Yeah. Danish slipstreaming. We'll have a little look through at the drivers. Truly and Rosine, this is the battle for 9th place, the top half threshold, as it were. Truly just slipstreaming Rosine, but Rosine is on the harder compound tyre. Rosine, a very good driver in his own right, truly looks to the outside of the final corner. Can he turn to the inside in that last left-hand 90-degree? Can't quite, but he's still going to get that slipstream all the way down through turn 3. Pamushis, Hernandi, and these lot all still in their slipstream trains respectively. Truly still stuck behind Rosine just for the minute. And Caddo looking to join this battle as well. He's on the soft tyre, remember, one of the only 2 drivers to do so. He has got pretty worn tyres already. You can see a lot of skidding coming through that roundabout section where you essentially do a 360 around that very lovely curve just over the bridge there. Truly's mediums also just starting to go off, so we should see some people in for tyres soon. Levy, you raced in Challenge League earlier. What was the tyre strategy like?
Mostly hards or hards to mediums, or from mediums to hards, but nothing like with softs, because they work well in the first 4 or 5 laps and they just lose too much to hards and mediums.
Fascinating. So Nuno, who is on the mediums, inherits the lead of the race. Grandi into the pits, which we pretty much expected, and his teammate is the car right ahead of him. You'd expect some pretty good team orders considering Grandi's just come into the pit lane, and Antti will not fight that. He knows his teammate really does have a chance here, and even with Grandi's mistake on the exit there, will cover off. The softs are interesting for an undercut here because he obviously probably can just put in some lap time now, and all he really needs is just to get lucky with the rain. He is now the only driver on the soft. You've got Caddo, who's been into the pit lane 4 times. Interestingly, Suicide only in once. That was the switch from wets to dries, with him being the car, one of the 2 cars that stayed out on those wets. And we'll see anyone higher up. It looks like Gamer has come into the pit lane. He'll emerge just behind Rozim, and he takes his 4th stop of the Grand Prix as well. Pamushis behind as we... Oh, Jaruni and Urist, a big battle here going down to turn 1. This looks like it's been going violent for a few laps now because they are not giving any space going through the corners. This is what we love to see in Sunday League. And it's just gone to the point where the mediums are properly toasted. Look at that brown tyre on Urist's car. And Jaruni on the hards gets the superior grip, superior exit out through the roundabout. I wouldn't say there's bad blood between these two, but there's certain difficulties racing. Jaruni does have an improved connection for this week though, so you'll notice him jittering around a lot less. He pits on the same lap as Urist does. Most of the field now on the hards. Grandi with his soft tyre undercut. Kubo up in 4th place. He's not taken his 4th stop of the race just yet. Hernandi and Nuno both have, as has Gamer behind him. Razim has not. Pimu following through. Truly, Caddo, and then Andres up into 12th, not for long, so it's just the FLFs that still need to stop pretty soon. Nuno and Hernandi there. It's an interesting thing to have an enforced sort of pit line there. You can see with the, as we see Truly just go through it, the gravel strip, meaning that obviously you get the curb to give you a bit of liberty, but you can't really just sort of jig across into the pit lane last minute because you will pay the price of a big gravel slowdown, even if your tyres are only off the tarmac for a little bit. Levy, anything that you've spotted?
Danny is coming into the pits now. Grandi will take the lead on his relatively fresh. So actually, they're already relatively worn out. Grandi lost the slipstream. Oh, the animated just emerged in front of Nuno, and now it looks like it will be a battle for the 2nd place.
Looking strong for Danny. Oh, Nuno gets a stutter there. That's not good. He's just been held back a little bit. Now falls into the clutches of Hernandi. And that does explain why it's been pretty even so far this race. You'd think Nuno is the sort of, not dominant. Oh, Hernandi doesn't leave him much room on the exit there either. He's going to lose maybe another position to Gamer as they weave their way through here. Really get a better exit out through the final corner. They both take the very wide line. Duck back inside I think that final corner, apart from in the connection check, has been seen as largely safe so far. So good job from the organisers. Nuno, again, just with more issues. I think that was another stutter, but he's just jumped back and forth. And now he's got Gamer right behind him, who is going to be desperately looking for a move to stay intact with the Hernandi and Danny duo as they come up to lap the final two runners, Game On Goose and Guetsley. So Grandy, okay. So he has to stop for softs again. He's going to take the extra pit stops in the belief that the softs are the fastest tyre. Interestingly enough, Danny, who pitted recently, isn't going to be so far ahead on the pit exit. Grandy comes out, and Nuno, again, I think he's just jumping all over the place. He's out! He's out! Nuno's going to retire in his first ever retirement from a Sunday League race. This is unbelievable. This is unbelievable. We noticed it, just an issue with the stutters, and on lap 25 of the Danish Grand Prix, Nuno, the 4-time champion, is out of the race. This is huge for the fight for the win, the fight for the podium. Nuno and Nomskar not starting this race after not being available this week. Neither of them will finish this Grand Prix. That's unbelievable. Grandy back up into second place. This race win is looking really on for him, but Danny will fight this as hard as he possibly can, because Danny does have the hards. They will last, despite the fact that he put them on a fair bit earlier than Grandy's softs. You might say for Grandy's softs that he'll just, until he has to take the extra pit stop, he'll basically bank on the other drivers coming in and then maybe a lucky spot of heavy rain to aid him. But Nuno, now being taken by the entire field a couple times, has retired down at turn 5, and that is agonising for the Portuguese racer. Levy, what consequences do you think this will have in the championship?
I think Nuno will have now much more less chances to win to win his 5th title, unless he wins all the other races. And I'm sure that pretty much won't help Link's racing at all in the World Constructors Championship.
Absolutely.
Hey guys.
Hi Nuno. Do you want to give us a little piece on what you thought about that? What happened?
It was just impossible to race. I was getting lag all the race, and I'm pretty sure it was just me, not the server itself.
I think it was just the stutters that we've seen so far this week. That's absolutely
Yes.
devastating.
Literally the entire race was just stutters, and I couldn't have any pace because of that. So
Yeah.
and I couldn't stay. Probably I should to get more points for links, but I.
No, you were just
I don't
dropping
know,
back
yes.
there. That's really frustrating. I can see that. But Grandy is chasing down Danimator for the race lead here on lap 29 of 40 for the Danish Grand Prix. Danny on his hards, Grandy on softs. They're almost reaching the sort of crossover here. Remember, even if they do look like they have the same life on the indicator, the softs will always be a little faster than the hards. But there will start to be a point where those hards will take over, and then obviously being 2 steps harder compound, 2 steps more durable, Danny will be able to extend it a bit further than Grandy can at the moment.
I wonder if I could commentate if I left. So yeah, I would say I think Grandy was doing an amazing race. Like you know, he managed to get the lead and he was keeping pretty well. Although there were times where he got pretty close, but yeah, I think his strategy was also making other cuts. So yeah, he would always extend that gap. But now in the end, I think he will do a nicer pit stop compared to the animator. So I think those will be the 2 guys battling for this win. So yeah, it'll be interesting. Like Randy made quite similar strategy. He's pitting right now, 10 laps to go. And so yeah, I'm curious to see who's gonna win. I think I would be happy for both of them, especially if it's Randy, because it'll be the first win.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I mean, from what you've seen, how do the hards compare to the softs? Is it worth taking the extra stops?
I think it depends. Maybe for Granty's case it would be because he was running away, and yeah, the pace difference is actually quite big. It's like half a second you gain from each lap. So yeah, let's see now. He has his teammate in front. I think he should let him pass.
I think he will do. It's just it's a difficult place to catch a teammate, isn't it? Just through this final sector. Not really
Yeah,
letting
no,
him pass. Oh, he does get out of the motorway now. Yeah, that's fair enough. And he got a little bit of slipstream. I think the goal is here for Grandy, the undercut on Danny, because he has taken the hards as a sign of intent that he does want to go for that. And I think if he gets in a good lap here, which he probably can do, then he'll be able to just sort of breeze his way past Danny once Danny comes into the pit lane at Anti. Obviously benefiting off his teammate's slipstream. NTH never have had a double podium in their history racing. So it's really, really interesting to see. Their best result is a 1-4, I believe, in either France karting or South Korea. Sorry, go on, Nina.
What are Anti's tires? What? How are
Very
they?
old
Oh,
hards,
very
yeah.
old. Okay, so yeah, he should make another pit.
Hmm.
But yeah, I think Gamer should take third or Nandi. I think he's pretty close. Yeah, those
Better
were...
than fucking rain!
Oh my god, this has worked
Ooh.
well. Oh, it's worked even better for Danimator, who's right at the end of his
Yeah,
stint.
Danny's gonna win.
Oh
Good
man.
up. So
And
yeah, that's the championship leader, and I think he's looking pretty well for the title. But that big mistake.
yeah, he did slide quite far off there, but that's really unfortunate for Grandy. If that rain had come one lap later, Danny would have been behind Grandy on the track. Grandy definitely would have gotten the undercut. If you look at that gap, it's really not. I mean, it really wasn't a lot before they came in. Now, Danny's just going to have that sort of that safe, comfortable bubble, which is sort of a pit stop. Sort of a pit stop. Not quite with the undercut, of course. Pamushas comes in, off his hards onto the wets, and truly, it's the last car crawling into the pit lane to take those wet tyres. I mean, we could see this going through to the end of the race if it's a longish rain period, but it's probable that we'll have one final soft stint at the end if this doesn't stick around, if we do just have the clouds. There we go. Right. I mean, oh, a little bit of
Ooh,
lag
big
there.
right. Let me see if it's not me. Because I'm trying to stay on the game, see if it doesn't tabs out or. So yeah, I'm just in the game now.
Yes,
I
good
think you
idea.
saw me doing some spins.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
It's very unfortunate. But yeah, let's focus on the race. I think Danny managed to save a pit stop. I think, yeah. Yeah, Granty paying the price for making that extra pit stop. But I think it could work actually, but
It's
just wasn't to be.
yeah, it could have worked, especially with that undercut if he'd then gone lucky with the rain afterwards. But I think, yeah, you're right. It's just sort of, it just didn't happen in his favour. He could still get something late on in this race. It's just unlikely with, obviously, these drivers train. They predict as well as they can the weather patterns and the weather forecast. But this is a really interesting battle. This is the final spot on the podium. Third place currently held by Gamer 15 for Rapid Motorsport Collective. Hanandi holding fourth place, goes down the inside into the Copenhagen sling. That's a wonderful move. Gamer didn't want to stick it around the outside there because you really can't do that very easily without finding yourself in a little bit of blue tarmac as they go through the chicanes here on lap 36. It's big gap up to Grandy, who is, remember, still set for his first ever podium of his career. It could have been a win, but he had an excellent start and has just carried that through, and he will, it looks like, claim second place. Gamer claimed third on the track just for the moment, as it looks like it's going to start drying up. Goes down the inside just at the first two corners, takes that inside line, and Hanandi has to bail out to a little bit of gravel on the exit there because it's very, very tight going through there, the narrow streets of Copenhagen. Tiny bit more lag, but we've got it solved already. Anti in fifth place. This could be one of the best results of all time for the Nordic Thunder team. Remember, they were second and fifth in Vallelunga when Sobel finished second place, 15 seconds off the race leader, and Anti did take fifth on that day as well. And it will be really interesting to see Grandy take second place here. Not huge movement in the gaps between the top sort of two here, but a big one between Gamer and Hanandi, who once again goes side by side, and Gamer just nicks a little bit of tarmac that time and does show why you don't go side by side through there. The track will be drying up. We only have 2 complete laps of racing left for the race leaders, but do remember that every driver will get the chance to finish their race, or pretty much every driver. I don't think we have any huge pace differentials here today, so it looks likely that people will be able to finish up. Grandy in second place. Gamer, Hanandi's just dropped back there, maybe a collision earlier at the end of the last lap, but Anti set to take a very solid fifth as we mentioned. Pamusha 6th, and it looks like Truly is into the pit lane, as is Kado. This is a huge gamble. This is really interesting, actually, because they do have 2 laps left on all their competitors to see if they can make something here. They had a huge gap behind, so you're not really losing any positions, but can they get through? Go on, Nuno.
But I think at the front it's
dry.
I think a no-brainer maybe, but although you can really lose a lot of time.
That's a huge gamble. 1 lap left here in Copenhagen. Grandy into the pit lane for a set of softs. Danimator has stayed out on the wet. He doesn't... I'm not sure quite what that gamble's for, because that's going to be huge if it doesn't pay
for
off.
second place.
But he's coming back through here. Danimator is going through the final corners, and this season, for the very first time, Danimator will win the Danish Grand Prix, and he makes it the record in Sunday League for 6 different drivers to win in 6 consecutive races. Grandy, with a late gamble at the end that has put him back where he deserves, takes his first ever podium for the Nordic Thunder team. Gamer right ahead of Hernandi as they cross the line, and Antti comes through in 5th place. Hernandi apologising to him after the race. Grandy was quite nervous about that late pit stop. Pamushas will take 6th position behind Rosine with a very solid 7th. Truly, and then Kubo for his best finish of his career. His first top 10 comes home in 9th. It's the VEOs in 10th and 11th place. Antti not happy with Hernandi here. Eurus will take a respectable 12th position unless Mark can maybe make some effort here at the end. He can't quite catch him. Suicide in a great 13th place. That's his career tied highest, I believe, if that is 13th place for him, but we'll have to look at the final results standings. Gwetsley will come through, and Game on Goose, our final runner. Why didn't he pit for softs? He had a few laps to go. He could have tried something there, but he's going to be a good bit off the back of the pack as we come to the results screen here and see what happened. We do need some rules on that as well. Oh no, you're still going.
Yeah, but I'm like lap 25.
Yeah, exactly. Here we go.
It's first DNF, and I cannot believe it. But
yeah. Danimator wins. Grandy, 2nd place with fastest lap. Sorry, just 1 second. Gamer, 3rd place. He'll take the podium for RMC. Hernandi in 4th. Antti in 5th. Pamusha takes 6th. Rosime. Then Truly, Kubo, and Kado is your top 10. Very strong finishes for those final 4 in the top 10. Minus maybe Truly, because they'll be happy to finish in there. Jaruni, then Eurus, Andres, Suicide with a very good 14th place. Kraft with his career highest 15th. He'll take 3 points for that result on merit this time, rather than the driver stopping racing before he was supposed to. Gwetsley in 16th, Goose in 17th, last of the runners, and Nuno with the DNF. Nuno, your thoughts on the race?
So it was Mexico season 7 for me, but I think it was quite exciting at the front, at least the battle for 2nd place. Yeah, there was like Grandy game. Actually, it was Danny, Gamer, and Nandi, but Danny actually had quite a lot of pace, but then in the end it was the rain that really helped him out, and Grandy, yeah, just taking 2nd place. Really great performance. I mean, the fact that he bottled qualifying in CL as usual, and then he went on to win the feature race, which is something not that usually finish like before or something, but yeah, it was quite an interesting race. There's not much I can say, because the rain really also took a quite huge impact, and I think that was why that wasn't much happening in terms of strategy, because people would keep the same amount of pits until the end. Got that influence. So I think it was more of a rain kind of race than it was a very rain-driven race.
Yeah, you're not wrong there. Levy, your thoughts on the race?
It was it was really good. It gave us what we really needed, the fun. I mean, we had it last races too, but we continued to have fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that was a fantastic race, perfectly summarised by our co-com and racer turned co-com today, but hopefully the issues will be fixed for next race so Nuno can go back on the charge for the win. But for now, it's Danimator and Mayhem Racing who take the win at Copenhagen. Grandy with fastest lap and 2nd place, his first ever podium. That's all for today. We'll see you next week for another round of Sunday League, the 5-race stint to the very end of the 10th season of Sunday League. But until then, bye-bye.